In 1975, I made my first trip to Uman. While we were there with Rabbi Rosenfeld, the entire trip, I found my diary recently, the entire trip, he just taught Torah on the plane, in the hotel, and he taught us the halachas of what do you do. One of the things he taught us, what do you do when you have to make hard-boiled eggs? Okay, that there's a halacha, how many you're supposed to put in the pot at the same time in case you see a blood spot. While we were in a hotel room, I believe it was either in Russia or one of the trip somewhere along the way, we had a Mlava Malka, and it was Stan and myself and Rabbi Rosenfeld. He had us, we were the two students that came with him. And I was the cook. I made the hard-boiled eggs for the Mlava Malka. But I made a mistake. I put 2 eggs in, which means there's a shaila of blood spots. I said, Rabbi, what do we do? I'm sorry. He said, I was careful my entire life with blood spots, with eggs. And when a person is so careful and such zehirus with the mitzvah, that mitzvah comes to take care of him. We're here now. Why am I here? Why am I the speaker here? Rabbi Rosenfeld has students that are geniuses, that are tzaddikim. They don't miss a day of his spiders. They don't miss the night of chatzos. They don't miss a beat. He has family that are the same DNA. The same, you can see it in his family. With Tzvi, when he introduced this project to me, I thought he was out of his mind. I said, what, we're going to have like a fancy dinner? Who does that? And I started fighting with him all along the way. He said, let's have this, let's have that. We're going to have, ice sculptures. I said, I'm not used to it. But you know what? He was right, and he was humble, and and this is the trait you'll find in all Rabbi Rosenfeld students. Not only greatness, but there's a tremendous humility. You won't find one student of his that's a big shot. They don't have it. It's not in their makeup. So the question is, why am I here now? Why am I the one to speak? And if Rabbi Rosenfeld was here now, he would say this is the most important part of the evening. Not because I have to speak, but because we have to decide, what do we do now? What do we do with all this? Rabbi spoke about we have to do this more often, but we have to think, what's the next step? I'm here, I think, because it's my birthday tonight. I have a mazel. My birthday present was I was born in Rabbi Rosenfeld's yurtzeit. Or it's just the way it worked out. So I turned 65 tonight, and I think I have a personal present that it's a zechiyah. It's not because I'm the best one, I'm not the best speaker by any chance, but it's just because it's a zechus. It was my birthday present. So the question is, what do we talk about? I only have a few minutes, and we have to talk tachos. So my wife says, you can tell over all the old stories again? How many times have people heard those stories? We have news stories, and the truth is that we have news stories. Because of Rabbi Rosenfeld, we have a lot of news stories. But I'm going to tell one old story and one news story, and then we're going to make a plan together, all of us in this room, to decide what are we going to do to show respect, love to our rabbi. And when I say our rabbi, it's all our rabbi, because we all received from him. Right? And one of the things that I remember when Rabbi Zal spoke about Hakaras HaTov, and he spoke about honoring a parent, he said you can never, ever, ever, ever pay back a parent. I don't know if he said that many evers, but I remember it like that. You can never, ever pay back a parent. Now, you can't. It's impossible. Everybody here knows they have parents, they have children. You can't pay back a parent. Well, let me tell you something. There's no way we can ever pay back this rabbi. I do not know how, but we're going to figure it out together. When I was 19 years old, I thought I made it big. I was in yeshiva high school my entire life, constricted, not allowed to do anything. I came to Brooklyn College. I was from on steroids. I was able to do what I wanted, and I find finally, after all these years, I have girls, I have fun, I can do music, anything I want. It's all available to me. And right in the middle of this incredible party that I was having, and this relief that I'm out of yeshiva high school, I meet Rabbi Rosenfeld. And I don't know what it was. I always felt this connection to Hasidus. I always felt this connection. And this is what I felt, this is exactly what I wanted. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and I had a lot of things going on. I'm taking art classes and all kinds of things. I won't go into all the gory details, but Rabbi Rosenfeld said, come to Israel. And I said, okay. And I came to Israel that summer, and we stayed in Mei Sharm, in the Breslov yeshiva. And every single day I was getting a pink perfumed letter from my girlfriend. And I remember Kalman Rosen, the Chron of Bracha, said to Rabbi Rosenfeld, this is not our way. We don't do this here. So he told me, Rabbi Rosenfeld told me, Bobby, I'm going to give you a few things that you're going to have to do. And this is when I'm 19, okay? So, and he said, number one, you have to get married before you're 20. And I said, whoa, that was, I didn't see that coming for at least another 10 years. I mean, like 5 years, before I'm 20. And then he said, you can't buy a house in Chutz La'aretz. You have to live in Israel. And one day we're going to go to Uman. Now, these are all fantastic things, he said. You can imagine. But for me, it was black and white. There's no gray. Either Hashem exists or he doesn't exist. Either there's a Hashem or there's no Hashem. If there's a Hashem, and he said, this rabbi who said there's a Hashem, said there's a tzaddik, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, that there is nobody like him since the beginning of earth. There'll be nobody like him to the end of time. And he said, I guarantee you come to my grave, I will pull you out of the deepest depths of Gehenna. And I said, okay, I'm in. Because I need to be pulled out. But when he said that, that's it. Hashem is true. The tzaddik is true. Now, no other tzaddik said that. If any other tzaddik would have said that, if anybody, I'm there, but nobody else. Rabbi Nachman said it, so that's the rabbi that I want, and this is the Rebbe that I want. So I came home, I quit college. I had tremendous wars with my parents. They had no idea I was spending all day doing nothing in college. You can use your imagination what you can do. And I went out with 65 girls. My sister set me up, and I had friends that met every Saturday night, every Sunday morning, every Sunday night. I went on Sunday afternoon. I went on a date. And I called Rebbe in the middle, and I used to bring him to the shir. And I said, Rebbe, I got a girl. You're going to love her. She looks like she's from the 18th century. She looks so religious. I bring her to the shir. He says, show me someone who's not. And I remember he was standing with Saul on the side, you know, and he said, we have to do something. And they were davening for me. And number 65, I hit the jackpot. I met my wife. And it was Baruch Hashem, finally, you know, you figure the heat's off, right? But she was 17, a little bit early to get married, and her father didn't want to get, you know, it was his first daughter. He didn't want to get married, and you know, I was stuck. Now, Rebbe Zal he didn't tell us until we heard from Shuli. I don't know all the details of his relationship with the Lubavitch Rebbe, but I'll tell you, he sat down with me. He took responsibility for me. I was his own. It says in the book, Rebbe Zal, and it is written, he would give his life for a Talmud. He gave his life for me. He took away time, his precious time from himself, from his family, and with my horror story, because we had, when I came around, there was a lot of horror that was going on. My parents were sending police to the shir in the middle of the night. He was getting phone calls. He didn't have an easy time for me. So he set up, he wrote me a note, he sent me to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I gave it to the secretary. Her father got a phone call, Erev Shabbos Mazel Tov. So my father was a good man, he's a Lubavitcher Chassid. The Rebbe said, that's it. He did it. So we got married. And now let's move ahead. Okay, let's talk about the new miracles. You know, Rabbi Nachman said, someone came to Rabbi Nachman, or maybe one of his students, I don't remember exactly, and they said, if you're such a big rabbi, let me see you do a miracle. Let's see you bring back the dead to life. Let's see you do Tchias Mason. Come on, let's show us what you got. Rabbi Nachman said, that's not a big miracle. I'm going to take a guy that's dead, whose nefesh is dead, who has no life in him, and I will give him life. That's a big thing. Well, let me tell you something. Rabbi Nachman did that miracle by me and others, and he also did regular miracles. Okay? I'll tell you some new miracles. Okay? Here's just one example. A small example. Rabbi Zal spoke to us about stucco. Now, you have to realize we're dealing on a different level of emunah. Meaning, it's like a shir heard from recently, Rabbi Yehuda, he gave all his money away Erev Rosh Hashanah. And he spent the night in the cemetery having his spiders because his wife would be screaming at him. The people, there's levels of mitzvah we do not understand. But he told us about stucco. And he said not only that, but he told us everything. When he told a mitzvah, you were salivating. You wanted to do that mitzvah. He said, when you give a stucco, you have to give it. You have to really show a good face. So I get a phone call from the Breslov shul, and the guy says, Bobby, can I see you? And he gives me his name. I don't recognize him, so I don't recognize you. He says, don't you remember? My name is this. I said, do me a favor, come over, let me hug you, and I'll help you. I get a knock on the door. A man, a gingy man, like a reddish hair, and I see him. I don't recognize his face. I say, how insignificant could this person be that I don't know his name, I don't know his face. And we dive in the same shul. I gave him a hug, and I said, how are you? And he went like this. I said, what happened? He says, you have no idea what you did for me with that hug. I said, what's the matter? He said, I don't have money to make Shabbos. Now, if someone says they don't have money to make Shabbos, you don't give them a shekel, you don't give them 5 shekels. You got to give them 200 or 300 or a few hundred shekels. Not having Shabbos is a lot of money. So I gave him whatever it was, and I showed him a picture of the wall of Rebbe Zal, Chalei Zal. He left. And I learned the lesson how you're supposed to give it stucco. I get a knock on the door 5 minutes later. Doron! That was the first guy who called. This was totally a guy who happened to be knocking on doors. The guy who called me, that wasn't the guy. I said, hi, how are you? And I gave him a hug, and I showed him the picture. I gave him stucco. But I learned an important lesson. It took 40 years for something to sink into my head. It took a long time. So now let's see. We don't have a lot of time. The night is late. And I can go on with my stories. You can ask my wife. And once I start, I don't stop. It says 9/10 of speech went down to women, and men got 1/10. My wife says, I took everything. I have all 10. But now, what's our plan? What are we going to do? Because we have to show emunah. We have to take this to the next step. Now, when this started, the Rabbi Rosenfeld Sefer, I had some kind of neurological problem a few years ago, and I had to spend a lot of money. I went to a clinic in Mexico because I just couldn't get cured. I had one neurologist in Michigan. He says, if I was, I don't know how you know, it must be just your sweet love of God that's keeping you from jumping off the roof. This is a doctor. So I went to a clinic in Mexico. It cost me $15,000. I'm not saying it's easy to get that money and spend it, but someone says your life depends on it, you do it. Now, Rebbe Zal said that when a person wants to give tzedakah, Mesiras Nefesh is a different thing. When you give tzedakah, if you know your life depends on it, you see the Baal Tanya says there's a limit, right? 20%. You can't give more than 50. But if you know you're going to die, then you give it. Now, Rebbe Zal spoke about having a emunah, all right? And emunah, he said, Breslov, how are you going to say you're a Breslover? I go to Uman. Everybody goes to Uman. You're a Breslover, what you have the spiders every do? A lot of people. Rebbe Zal said if you want to show that you're a Breslover, you give tzedakah to Breslov. There is no greater tzedakah in my life, for me, I'm not saying for you, for me, than giving for Rabbi Rosenfeld's sperm. I gave 20,000 shekel last year. I gave my Meiser head this year. I will give down to my last cent. Because I am a constant state of hakaras hatov. I cannot give enough. And with my last breath, I would do anything to have his sperm go out. Not only because his sperm has such an impact on the world, which it does, because I owe this tzaddik everything. I have children and grandchildren in Eretz Yisrael. You know what that means to have children? That I live here. I've gone to Uman a lot. I have a kesher. I'm involved. All to his credit. I've been in a who knows where in Brooklyn, running around and with nothing. So now, let's think, how can we take it to the next step? In Spirit Mises, in the Baal Tefillah, they speak about all the king's men. Let us all be part of all the king's men. Everybody has something there. I'm not a used car salesman. This is not a hard sell. This is a soft sell. This is not give up something and walk around penniless or give away. This is give to yourself. I am telling you, the more you give, Rabbi Zal said, the principle is there. I believe it. You want to have a munah? This is your munah. And there's only one way to do it. You want to show you're a Breslover? This is the way. Now, there's a lot of Breslov stuckers, but this is my most important stucker. We're all here for Rabbi Rosenfeld. I beseech everybody, I beg everybody, to try more than they can, whatever it is. Whatever you would normally give a little bit more. If it hurts, Rabbi Zal said, that's when it's a sign it's a good thing. If it starts to hurt, overcome it. And you're talking about somebody who was the king of mitzvahs. He knew how to do everything, he was salivating, everything Cadillac style. I'm going to stop here, because there's no end. I can just keep going and going, and then we'll miss everything. So, we have people that can go around, they have booklets. I don't have to push it, I don't have to do it. On your own, come up. And Rabbi Zal said, whoever comes to a minyan, the first 10 get the credit of the whole minyan. And the first one gets to see the Shekhinah. Let's see from all of us the speed, the zrizas, that we all can go and say, we have Rabbi Nachman's soul, we have Siach HaNeshama. You should know Rabbi worked day and night. His Rav Chaim's children, they're Meiser and Nefesh, and they are total Anavim. There's no big shotting us. If I did that, I would tell everybody, look what I did. You know, they did that. We have David Dombrowski Sefer that's coming out. We have Shol Mizrahi is coming out with another Sefer, Rabbi Nachman's soul. And we have the Sefer Anach by Rav David Mark, which is incredible. I ask all of us that we should work together, and let's have another party like this soon, because it's just a lot of fun. Thank you.